أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God Most High be upon you. What we're looking at here today is a Qassida, panegyric or praise poem by Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba titled Kun. Short word, short Qassida, but don't let the shortness, these 4 lines, fool you, because what's written within them is deep enough to be expounded into a whole khutbah or an entire sermon. This particular Qassida is also chapter 9 for a more fuller explanation and breakdown of it in one of my books that is available on Amazon titled The Lifted Veils, 15 Select Qassidas or Poems of Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba, which will be available at the link below. But for those that do have the book and peep its intention on how it's explained and are studying the Qassidas, poems of Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba, and are using the Maghribi Arabic, the Arabic to English transliterations, and the Arabic to English translations and explanations as a study tool, these particular videos is the intention of to be an aid along with those tools within the book. So just in case you may not know how to pronounce or recite any of the Qassidas, or use it as a tool to listen to while you're reading it to get better and more proficient, inshallah, then the intention will be actualized. But this one's probably one of the shortest ones that I know of. There's 2 more, I believe. There's 1 more in my book that's also 4 lines. But this is titled Kun, and Kun is an Arabic word for be. So if we're looking at not the very top line, but those 2 lines, those 2 letters right below it, between the 2 symbols that look like kind of a fish or bow ties or whatnot. The first letter is a K, second letter is an N, and with those accent marks, that spells kun. We have a similar understanding, like in the Bible, when God creates a thing, he says be and it is. And same thing in the Quran, when Allah decrees a thing to be, or when Allah decrees a thing to exist, he says Kun Fayakun, or kun meaning be, and fa, ya, or and it is kun, being. Kun Fayakun, be and so it is being, or be and so it is. Same thing. This Qassida also mirrors a slight essence of Suratul Nas, which is chapter 114 in the Quran, and also mirrors some teachings from Suratul Ikhlas, which is chapter 112 of the Quran, which we might touch on. We'll hear that word in the recitation, and there's a more in-depth explanation in chapter 8 of the book, The Lifted Veils, 15 Select Qassidas, poems of Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba. Let me get off my soapbox so we get this recitation done, inshallah. Of course, we start from the top. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. And it's usually customary to say or recite the name of the Qassida or the poem before getting into the recitation. So we begin with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Kun. Line 1, right beside where the K is, it's another hint so you can keep track of where we're at. It says Kunu li rabban nasi abdina. Line 2 is li wajihil karimi qasidina. Line 3, where the N is naf'ul ibadati ma'al ikhlasi. And line 4, last line written in black ink, says Yajuru lil aman bil ikhlasi. We'll explain that last line towards the end of the video, inshallah. But of course, line 1 at the top, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Right there below it, Kun, the title of the Qassida. But line 1, right beside the K off to the right, that says Kunu li rabban nasi abdina. And translated, we have Kunu, like be this thing that I'm about to explain. Li Rabban Nasi, for the Lord of mankind, Habadina, worshippers of him. So when you reorganize things with English syntax so it's legible, we wound up with be worshippers of the Lord of mankind, from coming from Arabic syntax to English syntax. So Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba is advising us of a very, very simple thing to do that sometimes in the wild west, the wilderness of North America, sometimes people slip. So I wanted just a reminder, Kunu li Rabbanasi Yaldadina, be worshippers of the Lord of mankind, not just in your prayer, but in your daily doings and your actions, how you talk to people, how you treat people, your work, and your service for mankind. Line 2, he kind of explains that same thing. I don't mean to jump ahead, but he explains what we're doing while we're doing those things that we just explained in those previous examples. As line 2 says, Li wajihi, for his face, Karimi, which is noble, Qassidina, or we are striving. So what we have here is for the sake of his noble face, or sometimes you'll see Kareem translated as generous. So for the sake of his noble face, we are striving. For the sake of his generous face, we are striving. Not saying Allah has a literal face, right? We'll get into that into another video. But for everything that we're doing, it is directed to him, right? The third line is where the N is off to the right, which says Naf'ul ibadati, or Naf'ul, the benefit of ibadati, worship, service. Ma'al is with Ikhlasi, which is sincerity. So at the beginning of the video, when we mentioned it has it mirrors teachings and mentions some things that we can find in Suratul Ikhlas, which is chapter 112, line 3. We get to see that. It says the benefit of worship is with sincerity. And if we translate that word sincerity into Arabic, we get Ikhlas. The 112th chapter of the Quran is Ikhlas, which tells us, Kul hu Allahu ahad, say Allah, he is one. Allahu samad, Allah the eternal. Lam yalid wa lam yulad, he was not birthed, nor was he begotten. Wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad, and there is nothing in existence equal to or greater to him. And just in case we missed it, or we don't see the benefit of it, he explains the benefit in line 4 when he says, Yajurul, meaning he brings, he jurul, brings me to, Lil amana, to safety, to trust, to security, Bil ikhlasi, through sincerity, through ikhlas, through the exact same thing that was mentioned back in line 3. So inshallah, chapter 8 in my book will dive a lot deeper into this particular qasida, line by line, word by word, translations, breakdowns, with some context as well from the Quran and the life of Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba. Can't mention his name without mentioning Sheikh Ibrahim Afal. That is what is written in that last line at the bottom. So this particular qasida, when reciting it, we make our intention to recite it as a gift to Sheikh Ibrahim Afal, because what that says on the bottom is Hadiya, gift to my esteemed elder, Sheikh Ibrahim Afal, Babul Muradin. Until the next time we meet again with the next qasida, next chapter and breakdown, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.